I know what you're thinking. Oddities? Ranma 1/2? That's a bit redundant. After all, Ranma Saotome himself is an oddity. But I'm talking about the real misfits of Ranma 1/2. The ones that make Ranma look normal. To be on this list, one would either have to be a human with some kind of mutation, or a beast that does not exist in nature. So while Genma Saotome, Tsubasa Kurenai, Jasmine, and Sankichi Urakishi may be whack jobs in their own right, they do not qualify to be on this list. And I'll get this out of the way. Sorry to fans of the Antlion.
He's a giant antlion!
But he did not make it into the top 10.
He's a giant antlion!
So without further interruption, here are my personal top 10 oddities of Ranma 1/2. Admittedly, I am not the biggest fan of Hapasai. In fact, I think Ranma 1/2 the series suffered a little the minute old Happy jumped on board. But I gotta give the devil his due. Hapasai has given his share of memorable moments that shan't soon be forgotten. Sure, he's a human being, but he ain't like you and I. For one, he's over 400 years old, and he's the size of most people's heads. And he bounces around like a flea, groping young women and stealing their undergarments. And let's not forget the raw, untapped evil energy surging through him. Hapasai can play the role of insurmountable enemy, invaluable ally, and comic relief. It all depends on his mood. He is a unique, albeit annoying character, and he truly qualifies as an oddity. So the old freak comes in at number 10 on the countdown. What makes a good battle? A hero against tremendous odds. That's what you get with Yamato No Orochi, the 8-headed serpent of Ryugunzawa. By no means an original character, but original in interpretation. Ranma 1/2's Orochi actually has 7 heads, with the 8th being the body itself, almost in the style of a Dungeons & Dragons beholder. This hulking beast has an interesting background, and makes for a memorable epic battle in the world of Ranma 1/2. One that, in the end, brings out the best in our heroes. That's Yamato no Orochi, in at number 9. One of the many bizarre accidents of the Dr. Moreau-like island of Togenkyo, Saru Taru is a monkey who became a man through the water of a magical spring. Now positioning himself as the right-hand man of Toma, the Prince of Illusions, Saru Taru deserves mad props for his ultra-cool shadow attacks. He can travel swiftly in a darkened 2D plane, and suck his opponents down into the abyss with him. But even more effective is his control over an opponent's shadow. He can rise the shadow up like an amoeba and engulf his opponent with it. Once in the darkness, the opponent is attacked relentlessly by his own nightmares. How can you ask for a more cool signature move than that? Saru Taru, our number 8 Ranma oddity. In an episode cool enough to be considered its own movie, Tatewaki Kuno comes into contact with the legendary Phoenix, a foul young fowl which nests upon his head and grants him the power of invincibility. The Phoenix targets its insatiable wrath on the first person it sees when it wakes up, which becomes problematic for Kuno, or it often attacks those he loves the most. Our hero's only hope is to speed up the Phoenix's growth process, that it may leave the nest, but what ensues afterwards is a path of destruction Godzilla himself would be proud of. The legendary Phoenix is the perfect mix of devilish carnage and goofball slapstick, and his OAV kicks major ass. You know there just had to be a few fatalities here. That's the legendary Phoenix, in at number 7. Hello, my name is DJ Clive, and I'm a closet Malmolin fan. Malmolin, the Bakeneko or ghost cat, may be whiny, and to some he might seem out of place, but he is the perfect enemy to Ranma Saotome and a master of stirring the pot. He may put on the facade of the lamentable weenie who just wants to find his kindred spirit, but at heart, he is a devious, conniving, wily bastard who would hurt anyone he has to fulfill his selfish needs. In my humble opinion, Ranma 1/2 could have benefited from more episodes exploring the twisted persona that is Malmolin. She may not look like an oddity, but it's easy to forget that Mon Loan is, in fact, a goddess. A high member of the prestigious 7 Lucky Gods, the wicked temptress Mon Loan oozes sensuality, but at the same time, may be the most intimidating member of her troupe. Her ominous lute is her main weapon. Its razor-sharp wires can slice a human being to ribbons with a simple twang. This is one lass that does not play around. She's remorseless and bloodthirsty, and she is the standout member of the 7 Lucky Gods, overshadowing Kirin himself. The sultry vixen Mon Loan, a very serious number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the man-beast and faithful sentry to Prince Toma, the Birdman Tourist. He reminds me a lot of Vega from Street Fighter 2. He is quick and vicious, but at the same time he's a bit of a glamour puss. The only difference is that when Touristan takes off his mask, he's got a big doopy bird head underneath. Easily underestimated, Touristan is a fearless warrior who can launch his feathers as flying needle projectiles which numb and immobilize his foe. Not to mention he can fly freely and attack from the air. He is the natural foil to Moose, and the two go at it tooth and nail in one of Ranma 1/2's greatest battles. That's the Birdman Touristan, our number 4 oddity. Forget Casper. He sucks. Koganei is my favorite friendly ghost. Although she was only featured in a couple of episodes, Koganei Musashi fit in with our heroes like a regular part of the crew. She brought an interesting dynamic to the show as the ghost who sometimes forgets she's a ghost, as she regularly caused discomfort and heebie-jeebies with her haunted behavior. Her episodes have a cool goth feel to them, almost like you're watching a completely different series. To make a long-winded explanation short, you gotta love Koganei, and that's why she lands herself at number 3. Sure, Cologne and Hapasai may be sorta gray areas in this competition, but if you ask me, they are way more monster than human. The Wicked Witch Cologne is proof what a human body would look like if every square inch of skin was a wrinkle. This 300-plus-year-old witch has been both a source of grief in Ranma's life and an invaluable teacher in stepping up his game. In terms of design, she is every bit creative as she is simplistic. Floor-length white hair, 2 gigantic saucer eyes, she moves by pogoing around on a wooden stick. But as such an integral part of the crew, it's amazing how you can look past all of that. I would go on and on about Cologne, but to scratch the surface would be to tell 1,000 tales. Oh Cologne, I love you so much I could wire you some money. Well, here it is, Ranma 1/2's number 1 Beastie. We are all familiar with the griffin, a mythical animal which is part lion and part eagle. Another well-known creature is the chimera, which is part lion, part goat, and part dragon. The point I'm trying to make is, the amalgamation of many simple animals can equal one terrifying monster. So what do you suppose would happen if we were to combine an ant with a lion?
It's a giant antlion!
Antlion wins! Antlion wins! Hooray! Haha, just kidding. Seriously though, what do you suppose would happen if we were to combine a yeti, an ox, a crane, and an eel? What you get is nothing short of a demon. Pantyhose Taro's alternate form was given to him through the accidental bathing in a cursed Drusenkyo spring, where all these creatures drowned at once. It takes full advantage of all the creature's powers, and has no weaknesses to speak of. It has the physique and human smarts of the yeti, the strength of the ox, the slippery stealth of the eel, and the darting, nimble flight of the crane. It is demonic, intimidating, and just plain cool. In fact, Pantyhose Taro himself sees his transformation as a gift rather than a curse. And why shouldn't he? Can someone point out the way to Neo Ho'o Manmao Renishwan? I just may want to jump in myself. No arguments necessary. Pantyhose Taro's demon form is our number 1 Ranma 1/2 oddity. And now presenting those that weren't odd enough to break the top 10.